New England is jam-packed with shortline railroads, but one in Massachusetts is no exception. Today, for my new series of shortline railroads, I'll be discussing Fore River transportation. Chapter 1. Background. The Fore River Railroad is a Class III railroad in eastern Massachusetts owned by the Massachusetts Water Resources Authority and operated by the Fore River Transportation Corporation. It was originally built in 1902 and opened in 1903 as a rail link between the Fore River Shipyard at Quincy Point and the New York, New Haven, and Hartford Railroad in East Braintree, a length of 2.7 miles. Originally an integral part of the shipyard, the Fore River Railroad was incorporated as a separate company in 1919 by Bethlehem Steel, which purchased the shipyard itself during World War I. The railroad continued to serve the shipyard through both World Wars and was bought by General Dynamics in 1963. The new owner ran the shipyard and railroad until 1986, when the shipyard was closed. As local customers still used the railroad, General Dynamics leased train operations to the Colorado Eastern Railroad before selling the railroad outright to the MWRA the following year. MWRA has used the railroad to transport solid sewage waste and fertilizer. In 1991, the MWRA leased railroad operations to a subsidiary of the New England Southern Railroad. 10 years later, the contract was instead awarded to the Fore River Transportation Corporation, a subsidiary of the line's other significant customer, Twin Rivers Technologies. Twin Rivers used the railroad to ship fatty acids from a facility at Quincy Point. The Fore River Railroad connects with CSX Transportation in Braintree via the Greenbush line of the MBTA commuter rail. Chapter 2. History. The Fore River Railroad was originally formed by Thomas A. Watson, a telephone pioneer and assistant to Alexander Graham Bell. Wealthy from his telephone inventions, Watson decided to try his hand at shipbuilding and purchased land at Quincy Point in Massachusetts, where he completed a shipyard in 1900. He won a shipbuilding contract from the United States Navy before the shipyard had opened. To supply the shipyard, Watson realized a railroad connection was necessary. The New York, New Haven, and Hartford Railroad controlled the South Shore Railroad, which passed through Braintree, 2 miles south of Quincy Point, but had no interest in building a branch to Watson's new shipyard. In response, Watson decided to build his own railroad, identifying a route that connected the shipyard to the South Shore Railroad line. However, Watson did not charter his railroad and therefore could not use the eminent domain to purchase all the necessary land. After the offending property was purchased, construction started in 1902, and the first train reached the shipyard in June 1903. The company connected with the New Haven Railroad in East Braintree. During World War I, the shipyard was purchased by Bethlehem Steel and saw brisk business constructing warships. A connection was made to the Bay State Street Railway at Quincy Avenue, and electrification was added to the north portion of the Fore River Railroad so shipyard workers could take the streetcar directly to the shipyard. This arrangement lasted until shortly after the end of World War I. Bethlehem Steel formally created the Fore River Railroad in 1919 as a subsidiary. Traffic was modest post-war until the start of World War II brought increased demand for warships and more business to the shipyard. Bethlehem introduced diesel locomotives in 1946, and the railroad steam locomotives were all retired the following year. The shipyard continued until the start of the 1960s, at which point business had sharply declined. Rather than close the shipyard, Bethlehem sold it to General Dynamics in 1963. The new owner acquired more contracts from the Navy, and the shipyard was once again busy. This continued until 1986, when the shipyard shut down for good. In 1987, the railroad reported an estimated 1,000 carloads of traffic. While its primary purpose for existing was gone, the Fore River Railroad continued operating to serve a few local industries. These included a soap manufacturer and an oil facility. No longer needing the railroad, General Dynamics leased its operations to the Colorado and Eastern Railroad after closing the shipyard. In the following year, sold both the shipyard and the railroad to the Massachusetts Water Resources Authority. The MWRA was interested in the land to support its efforts to clean the pollution in the Boston Harbor. Conrail took over the railroad's lease in 1988. In 1991, the MWRA leased operations to a new company, the Quincy Bay Terminal Company, which was a subsidiary of the New England Southern Railroad. Under Quincy Bay Terminal, the railroad began operating over a short portion of the Greenbush line to connect with Conrail and Braintree. Now, Fore River Transportation operates in and out of the suburbs of Boston, providing good transportation between its two customers of New England Fertilizer and Twin Rivers Technologies. Chapter 3. Rolling Stock. Fore River Transportation only operates just a few locomotives on its fleet. Their main locomotives that they operate are the B-23-7 locomotives, numbered 101 and 102, that were built in 1979, which used to be owned by Conrail as a B-23-7 locomotive, numbered 1992 and 1980. Their GP38-2 isn't used often, but it used to be owned by Juniata Terminal Railroad, Conrail, and Penn Central. They currently have an S6 locomotive that is out of service, but was once an interesting locomotive. Chapter 4. Conclusion. Although this Shortline Railroad operates a 2.7 mile long route, Fore River Transportation has provided good service between its two customers of New England Fertilizer and Twin Rivers Technologies. They have been around for quite some time, so for being a railroad that operates in the suburb of a city, it's quite interesting to see them still operating to this day.